All right, what's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2011 Infiniti G37 Sport. Up front is a 3.7-liter V6, and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission.
This video is sponsored by CarMarshal.com. If you'd like to support the channel, click the link down in the description below. CarMarshal.com advertises for over 100,000 vehicles across the US.
But let's get back to that 3.7-liter V6. Well, it is a VQ37 VHR, and essentially what that means, it's the same engine out of the Nissan 370Z. It's a VQ motor. Nissan is pretty popular for using the VQ motor, I would say, in the early 2000s, late 2000s, but they actually still continue to use this motor to this day. The 370Z has not changed a whole lot in the last couple of years, but it's a pretty solid motor. It makes around 330 horsepower, which is really respectable. What I like about it is when you want it to be smooth, it's a very smooth engine. This car, we'll talk about it later on, it's very luxurious and it's very sort of sublime. It's comfortable and the engine really echoes that. But if you really want to get into it, you can get into it. All right, so I was told to do a 1, 2, 3. Oh, I got oh, it got a little bit squirrely. This thing will kick out. It'll do it. The torque is what really gets me with these VHR motors. You never feel like you need more torque in a motor like this. It's so good, and for highway merging, when you're not gunning it, it's very smooth, but once you get into it, once you start ripping gears, it sort of turns into a sportier engine. It kicks you just a little bit more, and I absolutely love that. VQ motors get a bad rap because when you straight pipe them, they sound like trumpets, but in their stock form, they're such good motors. Such good motors. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed manual transmission. This is sort of the big deal. This is the big catch with this particular car because they didn't make a whole lot of manual transmission G37s in this body style. Seriously, go do a quick Google search, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever you want. You will not find many sedans with manuals at all. And we'll talk about why that is towards the end of the video with my closing thoughts. But how does it feel? Well, first of all, the pedals are a lot closer together than I would have thought. They have a lot more of a sporty feel. You can really heel toe really well with the pedals. And actually shifting, it feels like a 370Z. It feels like a 350Z. It feels very Nissan. It's very satisfying going into the gate. It has a good clunk. And honestly, for 110,000 miles, these bushings are actually doing pretty well. It's not wobbling or anything like that. Last but not least, this G37 is rear-wheel drive. However, there was a G37X that was offered, and that was all-wheel drive, but those only came with the automatic. So if you want the manual, you had to go with rear-wheel drive as well. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 main gauges. On the far left is my coolant, then my tachometer, and on the right I have my speedometer and fuel, and then in the center I do get a little information gauge, pretty typical of Nissan. It's showing me my outside temperature, odometer, trip odometer, and any warnings will come up here. When I turn the car on, it reminds me to push in the clutch before I start the car, things like that. On the steering wheel, I do have my radio controls on the left, as well as voice commands and phone options, and on the right I have my cruise control settings. To the left of me, I do have my traction control off, trunk release, and my rear backup beepers, as people call it. It's sensors. It'll tell you if something's in the way, start beeping, just to let you know. On the door, I do have 2 different memory seat options. This is very nice. I love memory seats. I think every car should have them. And we have our power windows, lock and unlock, and power mirrors. In the center, we do actually have a touchscreen radio. At first glance, you wouldn't really assume that this is a touchscreen, but it is. It's a little bit dated by today's standards, but you have to remember this car is 9 years old. So take that as you will. No Apple CarPlay, there's not those standard features, but it does have Bluetooth, USB, aux, all those things. you're going to be able to listen to your music one way or another. Down below the radio, we do have our buttons for the radio. I think this is part of the reason why people just assume that it isn't a touchscreen, because it has so many buttons, but it's really for the navigation. I like it. It works. Again, a little bit outdated, but this car is, quite frankly, a little bit outdated. So it is what it is. Down below those controls, that's really for the map. We have even more controls for the center radio: volume, scan, category, seek, all of those radio buttons you find down below. It's a little bit too much for me. I think the navigation controls should have been put lower on the center console, maybe, just to declutter the center stack just a little bit. But besides that, it's fine. What I really, really like is that in the dashboard, I do get an analog clock. The reason I like this is purely for a status symbol, because you won't find an analog clock in a base model Toyota Corolla. You're not going to find a clock like this even in Honda Accords or anything like that. Anything with an analog clock is something that you paid decent money for, and it's more of a status thing than anything. And I like that a lot. Reminds me that I'm not driving something base model. Below the clock, I do have a CD player and my climate controls. It does have dual zone, which is very nice. But other than that, pretty basic. I have a little ashtray and cigarette lighter, and then the shifter. I like the look of the shifter. This is the stock shift knob, and I think overall it looks pretty good. It looks very Nissan, which, if you don't know, Nissan actually owns Infiniti, so yeah. But I actually really like the fact that they do put the shift pattern down below it as well. So then if you do end up switching out the shift knob and someone else borrows your car, they'll know that it's a 6-speed and kind of know where the gears are, blah, blah, blah. I just like that. I prefer that. Then to round out the center console, I do have 2 seat heaters for the driver and passenger, which I'm pleasantly enjoying. It's a dial instead of preset settings, so you can kind of, I guess, fine-tune your heat of the seat. And then essentially cup holders, they sort of fold out. Now, the seats are really comfortable. I am really pleasantly enjoying these seats, at least up here in the front. We'll talk about the back in a second. But like I said, the driver's seat is power, memory, heated. You could even push out that little shelf to kind of support the back of your legs a little bit more, which I really, really like. I think overall, great, very, very comfortable seat, and I love it. What I don't love so much is the back seats, so let's talk about that now. All right, so we're in the back of the 2011 Infiniti G37 Sport Sedan. Here's the thing about the back seat is that I have extensive knowledge on this back seat, and what I mean by that is I rode back here for probably about 2 or 3 hours one day. And so it's not horrible. My knees do hit the front seat. It's just a little bit more crammed than I would expect out of a car like this. Is it better than an economy car? Yes, by miles. I just would like a little bit more luxury. Obviously, the passenger seat could move up a little bit. It's not bad, though. The seats are plush and comfortable. This is really sort of the end of the era of like the super plush seats, at least in my opinion. I mean, they have a really good cushion to them. I do have the center console, 2 fold-out little cup holders. Again, they're not bad back seats, but I just wish that they were nicer for this. Now we have to talk about the looks. I think the G37, first of all, I love G37 sedans. The sedans, in my opinion, look tremendously better than the coupes. I really don't like the look of the coupes. I don't know. That's just a personal preference of mine, but I prefer the 4-door body style. I think it looks great. The back has been debadged, but overall I think this car looks great, and I will be filtering it in and out during the summer months. My good friend Alex, who owns this, has it lowered on some wheels, things like that, so I'll be filtering those clips in and out. That is the same car. This is the same car. I did film the clips before he put it on its winter setup, because obviously it's February and freezing right now. So don't be alarmed if it goes low then high, low then high, low then high, whatever. I think it looks great. I think it looks sleek, and it looks really understated. You wouldn't really assume that this is a very comfortable, quick, powerful car. It just kind of looks like another Nissan, when in reality it's not. But let's get to my final talking point about this car, which is really going back to that manual transmission. Finding a sedan with a manual transmission is very, very hard. And you might think, why is that? Why is that so rare? Is the transmission lubricated with dolphin tears? Is the third pedal forged out of vibranium? No. The reason for it is this car didn't really have a solid target market. So back in the day in 2011, this car sold for $40,000, which 9 years later, adjusted for inflation, makes it about $46,000 in today's money. That's a big chunk of change. With a little bit of dealer markup, you're looking at $50,000 today. And so most enthusiasts, at least enthusiasts that I know, don't have $46,000 to spend on a car. Or let's just work with the 2011 prices of $40,000. Back in 2011, I didn't know many enthusiasts that were willing to drop $40,000 on a car. For $1,000 more, you could have gotten a 370Z Nismo with the same motor, 6-speed manual that had automatic rev matching, and that would have been a lot sportier of a car. Or if you wanted something else that was luxurious, there was a lot of BMWs priced in this sort of price range. And so really the reason why these are so rare is because the target market was so small. People with enough money to spend $40,000 on a car that wanted something luxurious but also with a manual, it's kind of almost counterintuitive. I get all of these nice features, the memory and heated seats, the nice radio, the analog clock. Why do I have to shift my own gears then? It's a weird spot to draw the line. I said this with the BMW 540i that I reviewed. And so unfortunately, the target market for this car has actually grown significantly and outgrown the number that they originally produced, because buying this at $40,000, not a lot of people wanted to. Not enough people wanted stick shift to justify buying this at $40,000. But now, as these come down in price, let's say probably $15,000, you could find one of these in good condition, even 10. There's almost nothing that can beat it. I'm so comfortable. The power is so adequate. I have the manual. I'm having fun. Now you open it up to a lot more enthusiasts. Enthusiasts are looking for these cars because they have the features and they have the manual transmission. But because that initial market wasn't there, because the enthusiasts couldn't afford it at the beginning, they didn't make a lot, supply and demand. And so they didn't make a lot of these. And they actually ceased production on the manual transmission sedans in 2013. And so now the world is left manual Infiniti-less, Infiniti manual-less, whatever. We don't get these anymore. And that's a shame, because for me personally, I love the luxury. I love the nice features. I love how comfortable it is up here. I have my heated seat on full blast. I'm very comfortable. The power, super adequate. I love it. You guys saw me on a second gear pull. I kicked the back end out a little bit. That's fun. This is a fun, great car. It's a highway bomber. We took this tune from the Chicago Auto Show in complete comfort and style, and I love it. It's great. It's fabulous, but the original market just wasn't there for this, and so they killed it. And I think that's the biggest shame of all. So, huge thank you to Alex. He's one of my best friends. This car is awesome. Thank you so much for letting me take this out. I love you. This is awesome. And I understand why you love this car so much. Alex is an RX-7 friend of mine. We both have RX-7s. We drive our RX-7s together when they run. We traded cars for a day. We're good RX-7 friends, and he's just a solid friend through and through. But I always kind of wondered why keep around this 9-year-old Infiniti. Yeah, it is a manual, but you can get a lot of other cars in manual. But now I understand why. So, huge thank you to him. Follow Tracer Media as his photography page on Instagram. He's an awesome photographer and just a genuinely great guy. And I really appreciate him letting me take this thing out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
Aside from my soul.